you've met. I'm Dr. Dave.
Yes, I hear you.
Oh my gosh, you're loud. Okay. Okay. Is Nikki over there?
Yeah. Coming.
You want to say anything before you started?
Just that we're happy to host here at Discovery Center at Water's Edge. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary on November 10th, and we feel like we have accomplished a lot, and we appreciate these community connections, and we hope to do more in the future. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Nikki. Yeah, so we have, Tech Break has what is now a fairly long-standing relationship with the Discovery Center, with Water's Edge, and doing the events here. And if I remember correctly, I think our kickoff event last year was the first big public thing that they hosted.
And I've only been here a week.
Yeah, that's right. So we're very, very thankful that the Discovery Center is able to host us for things like this. The big news is that hopefully by this time next year, we'll have to see, there might even be a lot more space and a lot more things going on here with new exhibits and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. So for those that, most of you guys know me, but anybody who doesn't, I'm, the kids all call me Dr. Dave. I'm the lead program coordinator for the mid-sized robotics program for Tech Brick Education. And then we have all of the teams are from Tech Brick are here. I also want to be sure to welcome our new team that's sponsored by 4-H that Jonathan Bennett is leading. I'm guessing, do you guys even have a name yet?
Do not have a name yet.
Do not have a name yet, so that's their name for now. Okay, so yeah, so just to kind of go over what to expect today, we're gonna for the next probably half hour, we're gonna have some quick overviews about some internship programs that are available for high school students and eventually when you're prepared for college students. Then after that, we're going to take a very short break so that everybody can grab some food. We're then going to start off with our videos. With we have a video from First Chesapeake with some information about what to expect for the season. And then the big kickoff reveal video starts at noon. After that, we're then going to have Ref Randy, who has come in all the way from Frederick, Maryland, to host a Q&A with us about the field. So you guys can ask him any and all questions. After that, we're then going to have a little bit of a demonstration from our FRC team, 77770, right? And they're going to talk a little bit about what it's like being in the big robot program and show what they can currently do with its current iteration. And then after that, we're then going to spend the rest of the afternoon in mixed collaboration groups, kind of brainstorming about how you might tackle the challenge and that sort of thing. Before I hand things over to Atarva, does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. When do we eat?
Didn't you just answer that question?
I did just answer that question, which means he's now at the back of the line. Yeah. So what we'll do, we're going to start getting food after this initial round of presentation, so you'll have food in your hand while watching videos. Is that acceptable? Okay, hopefully you're not going to die in the next 45 minutes, starvation in the next 45 minutes. Okay, I guess I should note if anybody needs to use the bathroom, they are down the hallway. There's also a water fountain for anybody who needs those. Okay, so with that, what I want to do for this next little block of time is that we have a couple of folks who are going to talk about their experiences in some of the local internship programs that we have available. And we're going to start off with Mr. Atarva.
Most of you know me. As Dr. Dave said, I am Atarva. This is my second year doing robotics. I'm here today to talk about the RISE program. RISE stands for Real World Internships in Science and Engineering. It is a 2-week program hosted at Aberdeen Proving Grounds as part of the C5 ISR program. I can't name all 5 Cs. There are plenty of APG employees around that you feel free to ask. But through this program, you can work with many professionals in different fields. You'll most likely be assigned to a specific field, such as radio engineering, electricity storage, and prototype management. I personally worked in the prototype integration facility, which is where most of the mechanical and electrical engineers work. There, whenever the Army needs something in place, like let's say you have a big military truck and you need the inside furnished, they send it over to the PIF, and at the PIF, they come up with different ways of how to implant stuff inside the truck. And then they build these and they show it to Army, and then Army says that's good, and then the PIF sends it over to manufacturers, and then they produce it.
Hey, Atarva, what does PIF stand for?
PIF is Prototype Integration Facility.
You can tell he's already had his time in the Army because he knows all of his acronyms.
Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms in the Army. And it's not all just engineering at the PIF. There was also project management. We learned how the Army communicates specifically with the PIF and how they work out different steps with the production process. And we even learned more about leadership as part of the C5 ISR. After every other day, we would meet at the main C5 ISR building and we would discuss different leadership strategies and how to communicate with each other more properly. And another huge benefit of the RISE program is its networking opportunities. One big example of this is the SMART scholarship. There's a scholarship provided to undergrads in college, and what it does, it will pay for every year you are in college. Like if you want to get a master's for 12 years, it'll pay for every year. And every year that it pays for, you get to work with the Army afterwards. That's a pretty good deal. You get college paid for, and you get guaranteed employment on APG right after.
Yeah, but they won't let you go for 12 years to get a master's degree.
Yeah, maybe not. There's also a lot of networking opportunities. Like for example, this one RISE student, he got the SMART scholarship, and then he graduated from Columbia, I'm pretty sure. And then after there, he met the head of C5 ISR. Then after that, he got an internship with C5 ISR, and he started working over the summer, and then eventually once he graduated, he got a job. So there's a lot of networking opportunities through RISE. You can meet a lot of people in some pretty high places at APG, and overall it's just an amazing program. And the best part about it, maybe not the best, but after 2 weeks you earn a stipend of $1,600, which is pretty nice. Are there any questions?
So I have a question. How do you get into this?
I don't remember exactly when the applications open. Most likely before summertime ends, or before summer begins, I mean.
It's probably in January or February.
Around that time frame, and it's a 2-week-long program.
Yeah.
7 hours a day, only weekdays.
So the application is very rigorous. So do you remember what you had to prepare for it?
Yes, I think so. You had to submit a resume of yours, and then you had to submit, it limits how many extracurriculars you can put in as well, so only put in your best. And then you put in all of your STEM related classworks, and then you write 2 essays. The essay prompts, one of them stays the same and the other ones change. I forget, I'm pretty sure the first one was, why do you want to do this program? And the second one was a pretty interesting one. What is one technological innovation that you don't like, that you just completely go against? is a pretty unique prompt. I personally wrote about lithium-ion batteries and how they're bad for the environment.
Do you remember how many students there were in your class this year?
In my class, there was 7, but out of the entire program, I think it's 50 or less.
Yeah, I think that they said they take about 45 students a year,
Yeah.
something like that. They said they had on average, like last year, they had about 150 applicants.
Yeah.
So from a applicant to acceptance ratio, that's actually not too bad. But the applications are reviewed through what we call a blind review process. So y'all go into a pool, any kind of demographic information, your name or anything like that is all removed. And then they have a series, a set of scientists, engineers who review them based mostly on your set of extracurriculars and your 2 essay questions. And from those, they then issue the offers. And I will find out when the application period is, as well as the link. Do you happen to remember? The link is pretty easy to find, right?
Yeah.
Because it's under, it's not under AEOP. I think it's under one of the other programs. But if you Google C5ISR RISE, you will definitely find it. Because they have sites that are all over the country, but ours is like the big one in this area.
I wanted to see how old do you have to be to apply?
16 or above.
16 or above. Okay. So do you
Yeah.
have to be at a certain level of school or?
No. Just 16 and above.
Yep, and typically, the rule is you have to be 16 as of the beginning of the program, because often, like, the student might only be 15 when they're filling out the application in November or whatever it is, but as long as you're 16 by the time you show up, then you're okay.
And how often is it again? I'm sorry, I knew you already said that.
It's a 2-week program in around July, and it's 7 hours a day, excluding weekends.
Excluding weekends. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are there limited slots? To what to, I mean, I'm sure there are, like, to what degree? Is it like extremely selective?
It's 45 students are accepted, and there's around 150 applicants each year. There's also some handout goodies behind you in that cardboard box right there. We have DevCom frisbees and water bottles.
Yep, if anybody wants to get one, I guess we can put them over by the door to grab on your way out or something. Okay, any other questions for Atarva? Yes, ma'am?
Where is it? Where is this?
It's on Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
Oh.
Yes.
For those of you who've been at APG, I don't know if you've ever even seen them, the C5ISR complex is like the series of giant Borg-looking buildings. There's like 6 of them that are just huge cubes.
In the giant desolate parking lot.
Yeah, yeah. And let me think, it's not really
They're
on.
the newest buildings on APG, essentially.
Yeah, well, they've been there.
Well,
Oh,
they're
wow,
more than
now.
almost everything else.
Well, yeah, yeah. But they're not really on the main path that most of you would take to get to our building. But they're easy to find and very easy to see because they're huge.
You just apply online
Yeah, it's an online application.
on like the APG website.
Just look up C5ISR RISE. It's an Army outreach program, so it's pretty easy to find. Yes.
Is there any like costs or fees or anything like that?
Application, I think there was an application fee. I can't remember.
I'd be a little surprised if there's an application fee. Typically, these are free. But you get paid to go. So even if it costs you $50 to apply, if you get in, then you're gonna more than make up for that money.
And this is kind of a personal, question. Like, what kind of activities are you involved in so that they can have an idea of what was accepted?
While there, we operated the 10-ton crane within the pit to place stuff onto trucks. That was one of the cool ones. We also assembled like a radio container out of just straight parts, like nuts, bolts, and beams, sort of like the robot actually. We also used CAD to develop a catapult to launch marshmallows. And we used a lot of electrical stuff as well. We soldered breadboards. People made oscillating scopes. We made natural oscillators using capacitors on a breadboard, which was really cool.
I was kind of asking about your application
was when I was doing robotics, and they like to see STEM stuff, and this is one of the really helpful stuff. They also like to see time commitment. I volunteer quite a bit, so I have a good amount of volunteer hours. They like to see that as well. Cleanliness of just how you, the resume you submit speaks a lot of stuff. If your resume is cluttered, they wouldn't like that. It speaks about your character, so when you make the resume to apply, you also want to work on that because it shows your character in a way that's just visual.
Okay, I think let's give Atarva a hand. Okay, and now I think we want to invite Mr. Donovan Ramos up. These are on here somewhere? Okay.
Right here.
Okay, got you. So Donovan's going to talk a little bit about what it's like being in the Robo Masterminds program, right? To preempt him just a little bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is, and he's going to explain about what he did. So Robo Masterminds is a joint effort that's being run through the Army Research Lab, TechBrick Education, and Energetics Technology Center, mostly executed by ETC, for whom Donovan now works, that provides after-school and summer camp robotics opportunities for students that are everything. They're mostly 5th grade and 6th grade, but then during the summer they have high school camps as well, right? So even though the ARL and ETC put together the curriculum, almost all of the actual execution and teaching and that sort of thing is actually done by students. And so while Donovan is talking about his experience, I'm going to pass out flyers that have some information on them. You can just pass them around. Okay, hand it over to Donovan.
Okay, just before I start, most of you guys probably don't know who I am unless you're a couple of the older adults. I did FTC for 5 years. I was on Team 7 and Team 1, 1, 2, and 5. So yeah, I did what you guys were doing, and that kind of helped get me into where I am now. I work at ETC with Robo Masterminds. I'll talk a little bit about the high school programs, but then I'll go into some of my experience in the undergraduate program. With the high school programs, they need people, so you should apply if you're gonna ask like how many people do they accept. Somewhere in the low 20s they usually get, but typically it's a smaller robotics challenge that's executed over the summer, and some of them are 1 to 2 weeks long. Some of them span multiple weeks, but you typically have a smaller robotics challenge, and you get to learn. It's more fast-paced than FTC, but some of it is underwater robotics, some of it is on-ground robotics. You get to work a little bit more hands-on. It's typically a team of 2 to 3 people, and you're working on a small robot. You get to design your own robot, and you get to work with other scientists as well. You get to work with a lot more sophisticated tools. You get a lot more hands-on stuff. But from my experience, I'm going into my 2nd year of undergrad at Harvard Community, and what I've done, it's been a lot of fun. I know this is very informal, but it's a lot of fun. I think you guys would really like it. I did a lot of robotic stuff. You get to learn a lot of experience. You get a lot of experience no matter if you're on the software or hardware side. I got to work with a bunch of researchers. I got to work with a bunch of people from around the country. Actually, I just worked with some people from Florida, from California, from Illinois, a lot of other students, a lot of different experiences. I learned a lot. I learned more about the engineering design process, even more than here, than with FTC and FRC. I got to meet researchers, make connections. I got to learn about different fields of science. I get to see research. So one of the main projects that I work with now is an autonomous vehicle that's DARPA is working on. But it's not just a small thing like this. It's a large ATV that's supposed to carry 2 soldiers, and it's not just, oh, I'm driving on the road. It's, I need to be able to navigate this forest that I've never seen before. So I get to work with researchers on that, and it's really cool to be able to see this huge vehicle drive around by itself and to get to work with other researchers on that. But another fun thing that I did both this summer and last summer was there was a robot drop challenge that we did with Robo Masterminds along with University of Maryland, UMD and UMBC. We got to design a robot that was under 10 pounds. It's kind of similar to the robot that you make in FTC, and then we get to attach it to a drone and drop it from 50 feet in the air and see if it survives. And then not only that, see if it can navigate to a GPS waypoint. But the twist is you're not allowed to slow the descent. So you're not allowed to use parachutes, anything like that. You can add foam, you can make the robot as rigid as possible, as long as it doesn't slow the descent. So it was a lot of fun working for half of my, I put half of my time towards that. It was a lot of fun to be able to make a FTC robot, but more carnage than you get to see in FTC. I mean, you get to see it drop from the air, and then hopefully it doesn't break into a million pieces, and then hopefully you can drive it around and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. But there's also other stuff too. You get to learn more about your major if you know what you want to do. You can learn about other opportunities, what other principles there are. There's a lot of researchers that have a lot of different experience. So there's people that work on there's people that work on the hardware of robots, there's people that work on the software, people work on the communications, the radios, all of that. So it's really catered towards what you want. So when I went in, they asked me, what is my major, what do I want to do? And they work with you to make a personal project. Obviously, what you're going to be working on is going to be related to whatever researcher you're working with, but they will try and make it as fun as possible for you so you can get the most out of it. So I'm a computer engineer, so I got to work a little bit on the hardware side, but a lot on the software side as well. I got to see how the navigation of autonomous robots works. I learned how to drive a robot that's probably about this big. It can crush you if you're not careful, but it's really fun to just get to drive these robots that they actually use for research out there. And it's a lot of cool stuff that you wouldn't necessarily see out there in a regular internship. I can't express it here. I wish I had more pictures because you're not really allowed to take pictures there, but I wish I had pictures to show, but it's a lot of fun and I highly recommend applying because they're always looking for people and this is a new program.
So I would like to clarify something. Under the Robo Masterminds program, there's sort of 3 different opportunities for high school age students, right?
Yes.
And then hopefully they might evolve into other internships, which is kind of like what he's talking about, although Donovan did both.
Yes.
So under the Robo Masterminds program, they have summer camps. So the summer camps here in Harford County are for rising 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And it's a 2-week-long robotics camp. But they need students to help run those camps. So that means either on one hand you can apply to be in the camp, or if you know a lot about robotics, which you probably will after doing FTC, instead of being in the camp, you can actually help run the camp, which is part of what Donovan was
Yes.
doing, right?
You should definitely apply to teach it. If you're in like the middle high school camp, you already have all that experience from doing FTC. It's a lot of fun to teach it. I did that last year. I didn't do that as much this year, like what I was talking about earlier. But I highly recommend you do it. You'll have enough experience. You get to write the curriculum. You kind of get to apply what you've learned here and get to teach it to other students.
And then in addition to that, though, there's an after-school, an evening classes that are going on. Some of them are here at the Discovery Center. Some of them are at the Aberdeen Library. Some are at the Boys and Girls Club in Edgewood. And so they're looking for student teenagers to help run those as well. And so that's what on the back of that where it says like we're hiring, they're looking for students to help run those programs. And so that's basically an after-school job. And conveniently, none of those meetings are on Tuesday nights because it's the same people that are also running Tech Break, right? So they didn't want to steal people away from being able to do the Tech Break FTC programs, right? So if you're interested in any of those, that's the email address and contact to be able to reach out to, okay?
And you get paid too. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the best part.
Yeah.
Right? So any questions for Donovan? Yes, sir.
Do we get to test drive the massive ATV?
No, I'm not allowed to test it. I get to watch them test it. I have ridden in it once. It is very cool, but they're very strict with it. So yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thanks.
Okay, and now for our third speaker, who is not here, I'm going to introduce Jonas. Jonas, you want to turn your camera on? Howdy. Okay, so Jonas is going to talk about his experience working as a near-peer mentor for the GEMS program, right? So some of the students here have done GEMS. So Jonas, if you want to talk very quickly about what GEMS is, and then talk about what it's like, and I'm going to turn you down just a slight on our side, about what it's like being a near-peer mentor and what you do with that.
Okay, sure. So, for those of you who don't know, GEMS is a STEM-based summer camp that, depending on which one you apply to, may have, or which one you participate in, will have different sorts of activities, different sorts of themes behind them. For instance, there's GEMS Diverse Topics, which sort of covers a tiny bit of just about everything in STEM. There will be some things that are more chemistry, there'll be a lesson or two on bits of chemistry. There will be a lesson or two on electronics and engineering. There will be, there's a lot out there that they'll in diverse topics. Whereas there's also camps like GEMS Engineering, which is more specific to engineering students, or to those who have an interest in engineering, an interest in making things, etc. For instance, I'm sure a lot of you here in this room that I can see are engineering in one way or another. And let's see. So let me think about this. Let's see, so that's a little bit about GEMS itself. What else was it that you wanted me to talk about?
Near-peer mentoring, and what do you do?
Okay, that's right. So in GEMS, for those of you who have been in GEMS before, you would probably know this, but GEMS has a program called Near-Peer Mentoring, where in Near-Peer Mentoring, what you do is you are an older student who is basically helping run the class, or who's helping run the class, helping the teachers or instructors with whatever they may need help with, etc. For instance, for me, when I was doing near-peer mentoring with GEMS Engineering, I was doing a lot of work helping run 3D printers, for GEMS Engineering, it was 3D printers and helping students understand what they were doing, understand the project that they were designing parts for. That project just so happened to be a catapult, which, they all had fun with that. And let's see. I'm trying to think, what else is there that I need to bring up here?
Who designs the lesson plan? So don't you guys work together to kind of
Yes.
put together the plans?
Yes, so for GEMS, a combination, lesson plans are often built and set up by a combination of the near-peer mentors and the teachers. So, for instance, with me and GEMS Engineering, I am very familiar with the project that they have been doing for the past few years. It's been the same project with catapults, but something that was recently brought up, during the last week for this summer, was the idea of actually changing what the project is. And I am not going to reveal what the idea was that was being brought up, but at the same time, it's the idea of the fact that the teachers had discussed it, and then in the meantime, as they were discussing it, I was both helping make sure that the rest of the class was going strong, as well as when my assistance wasn't directly needed with that, helping them with planning and with helping set up and helping make sure, like just to help think about whether or not this idea for a project would have been feasible for them to do.
So Jonas, what are the requirements to be a near-peer mentor?
Okay, so to be a near-peer mentor, the biggest requirements are things such as being, let's see, I know there is an age requirement of being at least 16. Let's see. And all of the the information for that is on the AEOP site. Yeah. So the main requirements is just the main requirement, is being 16 or older, and then there's also the idea that if helping teach and mentor students in STEM is an interest, like it's not a requirement, but it is encouraged if you have that sort of interest. And then just in general, like having a passion for STEM, like with FTC, where you may just want to generally share it or try and spread it throughout the community, as again, I'm sure a lot of teams do in FTC to begin with.
Okay. Jonas, you didn't explain your background and how you ended up where you are and what other things you've done.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. So, probably should have started with that. So, for those of you who don't know me, I am Jonas. I am currently a mechanical engineering major, a sophomore at York College, Pennsylvania. And I am an alumni of, alongside Donovan, of FTC Team 7 and 11215. And how I learned about GEMS and the programs available through AEOP pretty much were the same way you guys are learning about it now, in the sense of like word of mouth, either through alumni and other people who I knew, or in some cases just in some cases even just directly, not necessarily being asked to do it as much as in a way, but also the idea of having just other people sharing their experiences with it to me, and then me saying, hey, I kind of want to try that, and then doing it as well. Does that clarify that?
Yep. Does anyone have any questions for Jonas? Yes?
About what age group are you teaching with the GEMS program, right? Because you're an assistant, right? So what
Okay,
age group?
so with GEMS, there's a few different age groups depending on what program you're teaching or what program you're working with. Different programs are for different grade levels. There are some programs that are like middle school students and some that are more focused towards high school students. Engineering, for instance, was like, if I remember right, it was mainly geared towards high school students, with the youngest, I think, being 8th grade.
Yeah, and there's also the GEMS 1 program that I think is not, so the program that Jonas was working for is run through the Army Research Lab, and they do GEMS 2 and GEMS 3. GEMS 1 is later elementary school. I think it's like 4th to 6th grade. And it's run by the folks at C5ISR. And they do a similar thing. And one of our other fellow students, Jackson Barrett, did the same thing that Jonas did. I was going to have him talk, but his family is out today. So it just depends. But so it could be anything from elementary up through high school.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Yes?
Where and when is it again?
Where and when, Jonas?
Okay, so, where and when? So in, GEMS is it's a summer camp, so it would be, there would be a few weeks of, usually how it works is there's 2 or 3 weeks of prep work, depending on the camps that you are helping out with. Usually for the prep work weeks, they generally have the near-peer mentors all working together, regardless of whether they're all working with the same camp or not. just to try and help get everything set up, make sure everything's ready to go, make sure all the lesson plans are finalized, and in some cases, depending on the activity, sometimes and occasionally we have us students who make the lesson plans completely. For instance, this past, the near peer mentors make it completely. Like I know this summer, one of the chemistry-based lessons that they did was planned out by me and one of the other near peer mentors.
And where were you doing this?
And so most, from my understanding, GEMS 2 I know is all hosted in the STEM Center on Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And the STEM Center, which is, I'm drawing a blank on the building number.
I think it's 4503.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So and Jonas might not know this. GEMS 1 is hosted by C5ISR, and so that happens over in their complex. 2 and 3, right now, this year they were at the STEM Center, but some of them in the future will be done down at Grace's quarters, which is also where Donovan was working. In fact, they were supposed to do one of them there this year, but then they had some bureaucratic thing and ended up having to move it back out. But the point is, it'll be on APG someplace. If
Yes.
that at least tells you, right? And to clarify the time situation, each of the camps is only 1 week long, but they have the near peer mentors teach for several camps, so that ends up being like what was your time, Jonas? Like 5 or 6 weeks or something? It ends up covering
for
a
me
chunk of the
with
summer.
teaching the camp, for me the camps that I was helping with, I think it was, well, for the camps I was helping with on site, there were 3 weeks. I was also helping with a virtual one for a week before that, and then there was 2 weeks of prep before that. So in total, I was working with GEMS for 6 weeks over the course of the summer.
Yep. Okay. We're starting to get a little tight on time. Any remaining questions for Jonas? Yes, sir. In the back.
How's college going for you, buddy?
Did you hear that?
I could not.
Jameson said, "How's college going for you, buddy?"
I mean, so far so good with this semester.
You're what, 1 week in?
2.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I think, unless there are any other questions for Jonas? Oh, no? Okay. So, I guess we will thank him. And awesome. Okay, so Joe, you can go ahead and so now what we're gonna do is I'm going to, I know you guys want to get some food. I don't want poor Joseph here to like wither away before it's time. I'm going to play, so First Chesapeake has provided a video for us that is kind of, gives a little bit of an overview of the season and that kind of thing. We're going to watch this, and then one other, and then we're going to take a quick break, grab some food, and then you can come back, and then we'll have our next bit, okay? How long is it? It's only 5 minutes, so hopefully we'll survive. So for those who don't know, First Chesapeake is like the local partner that provides FTC for Maryland, Virginia, and DC as a region.
Welcome to the 24-25 First Tech Challenge season, Into the Deep. We're thrilled to have you on this journey into a year of innovation, teamwork, and discovery. At First Chesapeake, we value gracious professionalism and community, values that we hold dear and anchor us no matter how deep we explore. So what are you waiting for? Let's dive into this season.
Can you guys hear okay?
Hello, First Chesapeake. Welcome to the First Tech Challenge 2024-25 season. I'm Jim Anderson, Senior Head Referee for FTC here at First Chesapeake. Something I enjoy more than watching teams compete is when teams help each other on or off the field, displaying what I believe is one of the cornerstones of gracious professionalism, cooperation. What's cooperation? Cooperation is founded on the concept and philosophy that teams can and should help and cooperate with one another even as they compete. During a match, teams are competing to the best of their abilities, vying to win. But that very next match, you could be teammates, collaborating, working together, but still vying to win. As a 27-year employee of RTX, I can attest that cooperation extends beyond the FTC competition fields. At RTX, we will compete against other companies, trying to write a better proposal, create a better design, or outbid that competitor to win the contract. But even as we're trying to win, we are also working with that same company, collaborating and working together on another contract, maybe even just down the hall. While that dichotomy might seem odd, it happens every day at RTX, just like it happens at every first event. When we compete against each other, we make each other better. But when we collaborate with one another, we bring out the best of both, making the whole greater than the sum of its parts. That is cooperation. Good luck this season, and I'll see you out there on the fields.
Hi, I'm Pankaj Oberoi, Head Judge Advisor for the First Chesapeake Region. I've been mentoring and coaching teams as well as volunteering as a judge and judge advisor for over 14 years. What I love about First is gracious professionalism is at the heart of everything we do. It's more than just two words. It's a way of life for everyone. Teams compete fiercely, and everybody wants to do their best, but at the same time, they treat each other with respect and kindness. Whether you're a student, mentor, parent, coach, or volunteer, the spirit of gracious professionalism is sharing knowledge, lending a hand, or cheering for your opponent. As a judge, I've been fortunate to see such great collaborations both on the field, but also off the field between teams, each one of them helping another to be better than what they are alone. It's not only the teams. I've seen mentors helping other teams, but also starting new teams and mentoring other mentors. Gracious professionalism is about hard work, being creative, pushing the limits to do the best quality work we can, and helping others along the way. It's not just about what we achieve, but how we achieve it, with kindness, cooperation, and respect. I look forward to seeing all the creative designs in this year's season into the Deep Challenge. Best of luck.
As we plunge into this incredible season of Into the Deep, remember, it's not just about the destination, but the journey and waves we make together on this adventure. Keep embodying First values, and let's carry this momentum as we dive in. Best of luck, Chesapeake teams.
Okay, so it's about 10 till noon now. I think it's probably best for us to go ahead and take a break and let at least our teenagers grab some food before anybody's gonna die. And then we'll come back. We have a quick video. Yes, but Amy, did you want to say something?
Oh, just, we've got 9 minutes to the.
Yeah, I know. And just to be clear, I'm in control of when we start that.
Okay.
So, yeah, because we're operating offline just in case anything awful were to happen with the interwebs or something. So anyway, yeah. So if you guys want to try and grab some food, there's a little bit of other stuff at the beginning before the really good juicy animation thing, which is what most of you guys are really looking forward to. So with that, I guess let's let the teenagers go and grab their food. The rest of us can kind of get some as possible and so on. Any questions? Okay. Get to it.
So here you're gonna just run that 17-minute one that was downloadable
Yeah.
for the,
That's right.
instead of connecting into the real.
I'm not even gonna bother because I've had too many problems with it being like all jittery and stuff.
Right.
So yeah, so I have two. I have the main one
And the field one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the field one.
excellent.
So I figured you'd rather I do the field before they ask you.
Did you realize the meeting's not
Oh, yeah,
moved,
we'll-
right?
we'll do
I can
both.
still hear everything going on over there.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Everything goes.
Yeah. Everything's good.
So is it 12 o'clock is the review, or am I wrong? Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Well, that's what we're doing. The really good part of the reveal is 10 minutes. Everybody.
others and showing kindness to others no matter the outcome of a match.
I was competing against another team and they had forgot to charge their battery. So I had one that was fully charged and I handed it to them because I wanted it to be a fair match and to make sure that everyone was having fun.
Helping a kid who rarely smiled because he had a rough time light up with joy when he had his first robot move, and that gave me so much joy because I know that made his day, maybe his week, maybe even his year.
I want to be a leader and like a person people can look to for support and help.
You can be a gracious professional both in your everyday life and in your future just by being kind and respectful to everyone and helping everyone out.
I work hard to learn technical skills so that I can help run local events in the community, and I actively mentor others to do the same.
When I go to school, sometimes we have group projects and they're a little bit tough, and gracious professionalism can really help me through that with the collaboration and feedback sessions.
We can, build sort of this ecosystem where everyone is happy and everyone's respecting each other and flourishing together as a family.
Hello, First Community.
Teams, coaches,
mentors,
volunteers,
alumni, sponsors,
parents, friends,
everyone. We are the 2024 First Tech Challenge Dean's List Award winners, an honor to be your host for today's celebration. Welcome to the First Tech Challenge 2024-2025 season kickoff and reveal of Into the Deep, presented by RTX, all part of the first dive season presented by Qualcomm.
We have an awesome show for you with special messages from a few of your first faves, and of course, the highly anticipated reveal of the 2024-2025 game. All of the Into the Deep game materials will be published on our website after the broadcast, so please use the website as your reference during the season. But before we dive in, here to share his excitement is first Chief Executive Officer Chris Moore.
Hello, First Tech Challenge community. Welcome to a new year of problem solving, creativity, and discovery. I'm thrilled to be part of today's reveal of Into the Deep, presented by RTX. You are among more than 100,000 First Tech Challenge participants around the world who will uncover the potential in each of us to strengthen our community and innovate for a better world with healthy oceans. A special thank you to our generous sponsors, including the First Tech Challenge season presenting sponsor, RTX, for making Into the Deep possible, and First Dive season presenting sponsor, Qualcomm, for helping us explore the future. And my sincerest gratitude to you, our participants, our coaches and mentors, our volunteers, and our passionate supporters around the world. Thank you for making First Tech Challenge the successful, engaging, and fun program that it is. On behalf of all of us here at First, wishing you the best of luck as you embark on this new season. We can't wait to see what you discover beneath the surface of the oceans, within yourselves, and in collaboration with each other.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. An enormous thank you to all our supporters and generous sponsors this year for making the First Dive season and Into the Deep game possible. Each season, the work you do together to solve problems and make waves with your innovations reminds Qualcomm that the future of breakthrough technologies needs you.
Hello First Tech Challenge teams, and welcome to Into the Deep, part of the First Dive season presented by Qualcomm. I'm Vanitha Kumar, Senior Vice President of Engineering at Qualcomm Technologies. Beneath the ocean's surface lies our planet's most complex ecosystem, full of life and potential for exploration and learning. Like these ecosystems, beneath the surface of every new technology lies a community of inventors, collaborators, problem solvers, and creative thinkers. We all have a role to play in building a thriving future, like wireless reach to support sustainable fishing or digital positioning services to improve supply chains across the oceans. As your team explores uncharted waters this season, what solutions will you come up with? How can your STEM skills innovate for a better world with healthier oceans? Good luck, teams. Let's dive in.
Thank you, Qualcomm. And now the Into the Deep season presenting sponsor, RTX, is taking us beachside to share some of the ways they're using innovation, teamwork, and STEM skills to help monitor and sustain healthy oceans.
Welcome to the 2024 First Tech Challenge season, Into the Deep, presented by RTX. During this year's competition, you'll dive your robots into the depths of the world's oceans to explore the unknown. This ocean behind me is so much more than what you and I can see. Beneath the surface lies a vast and complex ecosystem. You'll learn about that during the Into the Deep season. But at RTX, it's part of our mission. Every day, we're focused on advancing sustainable aviation, reducing energy and emissions, and minimizing our resource use. We're even developing tools that harness the power of the ocean. Let's take a look. From 500 miles up in space, the Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suite, or VIIRS, which is what I work on, rides aboard a satellite gathering information about our environment, like ocean chlorophyll levels or algae blooms along the coast. VIIRS is basically just a really fancy camera that's changing the way we see our planet. It has a rotating telescope to gather particles of light called photons that travel through various lenses, mirrors, and detectors to generate data that's used to identify things, like emerging storm patterns. VIIRS' tracking capabilities can increase warning times on approaching hurricanes and forest fires, and this ultimately saves lives. On board a different satellite, RTX's new Glimmer instrument will collect and process information from across the electromagnetic spectrum to get a detailed view of coastal water conditions. Glimmer will provide precise measurements of ocean ecosystems in the Gulf of Mexico, parts of the U.S. coastline, and the Amazon River. These markers can be used to detect coral bleaching and red tide, and will help decision makers rapidly respond to coastal disasters, like an oil spill. Back here on the ground, RTX is optimizing technologies that predict stream flow and flooding to better understand drought and other water quality challenges. Our goal is to help communities become a more climate-ready nation. Hundreds of RTX employees and mentors worldwide are ready to roll up their sleeves and plunge into the world of robots with you. Join us as we explore the future. By innovating together, we can create a better world with thriving, healthy oceans. Best of luck to this year's teams. Now let's make a splash.
Wow, thank you, Julie, for giving us a closer look. And thank you to the more than 500 RTX employees who are FIRST mentors. An important part of what makes FIRST is gracious professionalism. It's also at the heart of each team practice, get-together, and each and every First Tech Challenge event. Let's take a moment to hear from Senior Program Director Rachel Moore on an important message about gracious professionalism.
Thanks, Ryan. I know we're all excited to see this year's game reveal, but before we get to that, I'd like to talk a bit about something that's important and at the core of what we do, gracious professionalism. Whether you're a rookie hearing the term for the very first time, or whether, like me, you've been part of the FIRST family for a long time, this is a part of the ethos of FIRST that we can't take for granted. If you've never heard the term before, gracious professionalism is kind of like good sportsmanship, but instead of only describing how to behave when you compete, it applies to all aspects of your life. There isn't one specific definition of gracious professionalism, but it exists in the space where you and your team are performing at their best competitively, but you're also taking time to include and help others. FIRST is a small representation of the real-life opportunities that each of you will have to make decisions which reflect gracious professionalism in your everyday life. Many of these decisions that we make may seem tiny or inconsequential, but it's the little choices that each of us make when no one is watching that all combine and fuse together to form our collective culture. It's okay that gracious professionalism is hard to define. You already know how to compete hard, and you know how to be kind. Think about how your actions make others feel and how that makes you feel. How do you feel when you can do the right thing for yourself and others? What if it's only good for you and bad for others? Would you lend a tool to a team in need or give them a spare part? What if that team is on your alliance? What if they're against your alliance later in the tournament? Later, if you didn't help that team when you knew you could, and you beat them, how proud do you feel of that win? You won't always get it right, and that's okay, because gracious professionalism is a journey, not a destination. It's something we should strive to practice every day, but none of us are perfect, and we will fall short some days. When we make a mistake, we should own it, offer a sincere apology, attempt to make amends, and then we have an opportunity to think about how we can do better in the future. First is hard. It's supposed to be. And that means at times
all our supporters and generous sponsors this year for making the first dive season and Into the Deep game possible. Each season, the work you do together to solve problems and make waves with your innovations reminds Qualcomm that the future of breakthrough technologies need you.
Hello First Tech Challenge teams and welcome to Into the Deep, part of the first dive season presented by Qualcomm. I'm Vanitha Kumar, Senior Vice President of Engineering at Qualcomm Technologies. Beneath the ocean's surface lies our planet's most complex ecosystem, full of life and potential for exploration and learning. Like these ecosystems, beneath the surface of every new technology lies a community of inventors, collaborators, problem solvers, and creative thinkers. We all have a role to play in building a thriving future, like wireless reach to support sustainable fishing or digital positioning services to improve supply chains across the oceans. As your team explores uncharted waters this season, what solutions will you come up with? How can your STEM skills innovate for a better world with healthier oceans? Good luck, teams. Let's dive in.
Thank you, Qualcomm. And now the Into the Deep season presenting sponsor, RTX, is taking us beachside to share some of the ways they're using innovation, teamwork, and STEM skills to help monitor and sustain healthy oceans.
Welcome to the 2024 First Tech Challenge season, Into the Deep, presented by RTX. Your robots into the depths of the world's oceans to explore the unknown. This ocean behind me is so much more than what you and I can see. Beneath we're even developing tools that harness the power of the ocean. Let's take a look. From 500 miles up in space, the Visible Infrared Imaging Radiometer Suite, or VIIRS, which is what I work on, rides aboard a satellite gathering information about our environment, like ocean chlorophyll levels or algae blooms along the coast. VIIRS is basically just a really fancy camera that's changing the way we see our planet. It has a rotating telescope to gather particles of light called photons that travel through various lenses, mirrors, and detectors to generate data that's used to identify things, like emerging storm patterns. VIIRS' tracking capabilities can increase warning times on approaching hurricanes and forest fires, and this ultimately saves lives. On board a different satellite, RTX's new Glimmer instrument will collect and process information from across the electromagnetic spectrum to get a detailed view of coastal water conditions. Glimmer will provide precise measurements of ocean ecosystems in the Gulf of Mexico, parts of the US coastline, and the Amazon River. These markers can be used to detect coral bleaching and red tide, and will help decision makers rapidly respond to coastal disasters, like an oil spill. Back here on the ground, RTX is optimizing technologies that predict stream flow and flooding to better understand drought and other water quality challenges. Our goal is to help communities become a more climate-ready nation. Hundreds of RTX employees and mentors worldwide are ready to roll up their sleeves and plunge into the world of robots with you. Join us as we explore the future. By innovating together, we can create a better world with thriving, healthy oceans. Best of luck to this year's teams. Now let's make a splash.
Wow, thank you, Julie, for giving us a closer look. And thank you to the more than 500 RTX employees who are first mentors. An important part of what makes first is gracious professionalism. It's also at the heart of each team practice, get together, and each and every First Tech Challenge event. Let's take a moment to hear from Senior Program Director Rachel Moore on an important message about gracious professionalism.
Thanks, Ryan. I know we're all excited to see this year's game reveal, but before we get to that, I'd like to talk a bit about something that's important and at the core of what we do, gracious professionalism. Whether you're a rookie hearing the term for the very first time, or whether, like me, you've been part of the First family for a long time, this is a part of the ethos of First that we can't take for granted. If you've never heard the term before, gracious professionalism is kind of like good sportsmanship. But instead of only describing how to behave when you compete, it applies to all aspects of your life. There isn't one specific definition of gracious professionalism, but it exists in the space where you and your team are performing at their best competitively, but you're also taking time to include and help others. First is a small representation of the real-life opportunities that each of you will have to make decisions which reflect gracious professionalism in your everyday life. Many of these decisions that we make may seem tiny or inconsequential, but it's the little choices that each of us make when no one is watching that all combine and fuse together to form our collective culture. It's okay that gracious professionalism is hard to define. You already know how to compete hard, and you know how to be kind. Think about how your actions make others feel and how that makes you feel. How do you feel when you can do the right thing for yourself and others? What if it's only good for you and bad for others? Would you lend a tool to a team in need or give them a spare part? What if that team is on your alliance? What if they're against your alliance later in the tournament? Later, if you didn't help that team when you knew you could, and you beat them, how proud do you feel of that win? You won't always get it right, and that's okay, because gracious professionalism is a journey, not a destination. It's something we should strive to practice every day, but none of us are perfect, and we will fall short some days. When we make a mistake, we should own it, offer a sincere apology, attempt to make amends, and then we have an opportunity to think about how we can do better in the future. First is hard. It's supposed to be. And that means at times during this season, you will feel pressure and experience stress. In those difficult times, it might seem easier to be selfish or only take your own interests into account. After all, even if you do everything the right way, there's only a handful of teams that will win their last match of the season and get to celebrate being world champions. But while there are a limited number of championship trophies, there is no such limit on the number of teams who will have a successful season. Don't waste time on being envious of others' success. Ask questions, challenge yourself, learn from others, and share your own knowledge. Does your team define goals for your season? Do they include defining what success will be? How can you set goals which will help you better practice gracious professionalism? What is one thing you're proud of that you can help another team with? And what will you ask for help with? Don't be afraid to compete, but also have fun and take time to make today a better place for someone else too. In this Into the Deep First Tech Challenge season, remember, a rising tide lifts all boats.
What an important message from Rachel. Our team coach also makes sure gracious professionalism is a priority for our team. As you and your team dive into this season, make sure you check out our video of tips for how you can practice gracious professionalism on and off the field this year.
We also want to share an enormous thank you to our fantastic game design committee, Jessica Bullen-Smith, Michael Coleman, Laura Donadio, Mark Edelman, Aaron Fadden, Manny Lowe, Joe Parado, and Kevin Rudd.
Thank you for volunteering hundreds of hours, creating, refining, and documenting this year's game, and the hundreds of hours you will spend in season. And thank you to all of our thousands of volunteers that will make Into the Deep possible for teams around the world.
And now,
The thrilling reveal of the 2024-2025 First Tech Challenge game, Into the Deep, presented by RTX.
Welcome to the First Tech Challenge 2024-2025 season game, Into the Deep, presented by RTX. A team consists of up to 2 driver operators, a human player, a coach, and a robot. Each match is played with 4 randomly selected teams, 2 per alliance. But each alliance is allowed 1 human player. Your opponent for one match may be your partner for another. Robots must be built from materials specified in the competition manual and fit within an 18-inch sizing cube. But after the match starts, robots may expand, but may never horizontally exceed a 20 by 42-inch rectangle. The primary scoring element is a plastic sample, 1.5 square by 3.5 long. There are 20 samples for the Red Alliance, 20 for the Blue Alliance, and 40 yellow Alliance neutral samples. Another game element is the clip. Each alliance has access to 20 clips. Human players may attach clips onto samples to create specimens. The game is played on a 12-foot square playing field
with a foam tile floor and 1-foot-high walls. A submersible structure is located in the center. Within the submersible are the barriers, low rungs, high rungs, low chambers, and high chambers. In opposite corners are low and high baskets. Below the baskets are the taped-off net zones. On the other corners are taped-off observation zones. On both sides of the submersible are the ascent zones. Near the front and back walls are the taped-off red, blue, and Alliance neutral preset sample zones. April tags are located on the field walls to aid navigation. Blue and red Alliance areas are on the left and right sides of the field. Before each match, 60 samples are randomly arranged in the submersible zone. 20 clips are positioned outside of each observation zone, and 12 samples are positioned on the preset sample zones. Teams place their robots on the field, touching the sidewalls. Each robot can start the match with either one specimen or one sample. The field and players are now ready. The match begins with a 30-second autonomous period. During auto, robots may attempt to score using pre-programmed instructions and sensor inputs. Following auto is the 2-minute teleoperated period. Robots score using driver inputs. There are many ways to score during the auto and teleop periods. For example, scoring a sample into the net zone earns 2 points, and scoring a sample into the low basket earns 4 points, or 8 points for scoring into the high basket. Robots may bring Alliance-specific samples to the observation zone. Human players can attach clips to the samples, turning them into specimens. Scoring a specimen on the low chamber earns 6 points, or 10 points if scored on the high chamber. Sample colors may be neutral or Alliance-specific, but specimen colors must be Alliance-specific. The last 30 seconds of the teleop period is the endgame. Robots may continue scoring, but have protected access to their ascent zones. Each robot contacting the low rung earns 3 points. If a robot achieves a low-level ascent, it earns 15 points. But a high-level ascent earns 30 points. When the match ends, a robot parked in the observation zone earns 3 points. There are many ways to score in Into the Deep, but there are also rules that, if not followed, will result in foul points being added to the opposing alliance's score. A robot cannot enter the observation zone if a human player is in that zone. Scoring elements may not be launched. During endgame, robots may not interfere with other robots in their alliance's ascent zone. This has been a summary of this season's game, Into the Deep, presented by RTX. For complete rules, please read the competition manual and check the Q&A forum. And always remember the most important rule of the first Tech Challenge: gracious professionalism. Good luck, teams, and have a spectacular season.
Wow, this game looks incredible. I can't wait to dive in with my team. A special thank you to volunteer Kevin Thorpe for the beautiful animation, and alumni director Michelle Long for narrating. For a deeper dive on gameplay strategy, visit our Game and Season page after the broadcast for links to detailed field walkthroughs with First Tech Challenge project manager Aaron Fadden and the game animation.
We can't wait to see your creative solutions and robots in action on the field. Everyone's invited to explore Into the Deep. If you haven't registered yet, there's still time to join in on the action. Visit our website for details and steps to get started. Already on a team? Check out our free social graphics, recruitment posters, logos, and more. And be sure to tag First Tech Challenge on your team's social posts. Thanks for joining us to kick off the season, and for being a part of the First community. Good luck, teams. The ocean awaits.
Okay, do you guys want to see just the animation part again, just to go over the rules? Or do you want to write, there's another video that explains more of the details of the field and that kind of thing. Do you want to jump into that, or does anybody want to see the animation again? Okay, Okay, sounds
So
good.
I already had access to the animation yesterday, and I watched it twice. But I've had the manual since Monday, all right? And so I know all the questions you'll probably have. So,
Almost directly on the tile surface. And underneath each of the climbing sides of the submersible are 1-inch metal extrusions that are set at 2 inches from the floor. Each of these barriers help to keep the samples inside the submersible during gameplay. Each alliance has a low will retrieve their alliance with a clip.
I somehow started this in the middle of the video.
Yeah.
Hi teams, I'm Erin Fadden, member of the First Tech Challenge Game Design Committee. In this walkthrough, we'll jump in and explore the Into the Deep presented by RTX field. Now let's dive in. The scoring elements for this year's game are called samples. They're alliance-specific, red and blue, and alliance-neutral samples. Teams have the option during pre-match setup to preload an element. Either a neutral sample can be preloaded onto the robot, or a team has the option to assemble their alliance-specific sample with a clip to create a specimen and preload the specimen onto their robot. The human player has a significant role in this year's game. Robots will retrieve their alliance-specific samples and bring them to the observation zone. Once the robot leaves the observation zone, the human player may pick up the sample. Throughout the match, the human player will assemble the sample and the clip to create specimens, which are then retrieved by robots and scored onto the chambers of the submersible. The preset samples are placed on their respective lines on the field. This provides teams access to additional samples without having to reach into the submersible. The remainder of the samples are randomly placed inside of the submersible. There are a few different strategies teams and alliances can employ to coordinate, access, and score additional samples and specimens, especially during auto. There are 6 unique April tags on the perimeter walls. These April tags have been placed in a way to assist robot navigation, especially during auto. In the center of the field is the submersible. The submersible is designed to hold the weight of up to 4 robots at a time. Outriggers on the outside of the submersible are there to keep the submersible in place and prevent tipping in the case where 2 robots might ascend on one side. 1-inch round extrusion is used for the climbing sides of the submersible. The chambers on each side of the submersible are alliance-specific 1-inch HIPS pipes where specimens are scored during the match. You'll see that at the bottom of the submersible, under the chambers, is a 2-inch high barrier which sits almost directly on the tile surface. And underneath each of the climbing sides of the submersible are 1-inch metal extrusions that are set at 2 inches from the floor. Each of these barriers help to keep the samples inside the submersible during gameplay. Each alliance has a lower and upper basket scoring area in a corner of the field, which is located above their alliance-specific net. The height to the outer lip of the lower basket is 25.75 inches from the floor, and the height to the lower lip of the upper basket is 43 inches from the floor. Teams earn points for scoring samples into the baskets, and there are different point values for the low and the high baskets. To qualify for ascend points, there are a few criteria that must be met. Robots may only ascend on their alliance side of the submersible. Tape lines indicate which side is for which alliance. Next, robots must be in the ascent zone and start their climb from the outside of the submersible. And the ascent zone is a protected area during endgame. Make sure to read the rules for more specifics. Additionally, to earn a low-level ascent, a robot must be off the tile floor. It is only when a robot achieves a low-level ascent that they can then attempt to ascend to the high rung. That means that robots can't reach from the floor to the high rung to go straight into a high ascent. Space is limited on the submersible. Teams should be prepared to encounter incidental contact from swinging robots attempting to score. I hope you enjoyed this overview of Into the Deep. Please make sure to read this year's First Tech Challenge Competition Manual. The competition manual is your one-stop shop to understand game-specific rules, as well as tournament rules, advancement criteria, and robot construction rules. There have been some noteworthy changes this season, including some changes to terminology and, most importantly, a new process for team updates, where the game manual will be updated on a bi-weekly basis. Also,
Every team is allocated one account to ask questions and receive answers on the First Tech Challenge Q&A forum. Thank you so much for tuning in, and best of luck this season.
Let's talk first.
Okay. Okay. So.
Can we reveal the field?
You know, I was going to say, I'm about,
Yeah.
about to hand it over to, so for those who don't know, this is Ref Randy. He's been a ref for quite some time.
I started roughing FTC in 2016. I certified as a head ref in 2018.
Yeah.
But I've been a mentor of an FRC team since 2014. All right, so some of you people are going to recognize me because I certify as a robot inspector for FRC. During the COVID year where we had all those matches at Old Banneker, I was also certified as a referee for FRC. I like the way FTC refs work because that's the way I refed soccer. Is I will always try to warn you before you commit a penalty. You know, I don't want you to, do that. And FRC, I get my hand slapped. Like, oh no, don't tell them not to do that. And it's like, no, in FTC, we can, say, don't do that, guys. And sometimes I'll bark at you. And, I'm a loud guy. And I am, I want to apologize always ahead of time I just get excited, no, don't do that, because I don't want to give you a minor or a major or a yellow card and all that. All right, so that's up front. I have never built an FTC robot. It's just been all FRC. I live in Frederick County. We have 10 high schools. 5 of the schools have FRC teams. Only 1 has an FTC, and that's Brunswick. And Brunswick's Minerva is mechanics, and there's like an Apollo one. So I have no, when I have to sign off that I don't have a conflict of interest. I can do that for FTC because I have no connections. I live north of Brunswick. My team's at Tuscarora High School, just south of the city limits. So that's that. My background is I worked for IBM for many, many years, starting in '81. Got 2 electrical engineering degrees. I then became a L'Oreal employee, and then I became a Lockheed Martin employee. I never changed. IBM said, we're not making enough profit. I was doing I was doing FA type, no. I was actually doing air traffic control for England at the time. And they sold 10,000 of us. There's a little company called L'Oreal that was trying to become a player in the defense industry. And then they said, we can't get big enough fast enough. So L'Oreal sells 15,000 of us to Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin only had been created the year before. So there's all this stuff. So we were, totally told, bring your HR policies all the way from IBM, all right? So I actually had a year of paternity leave. IBM was real early, and not only maternity, long maternity leaves, but also paternity leaves. So that was good. But I'm happy I retired as a Lockheed Martin employee because IBM had pensions too. So and that carried along with us. So I retired early. I retired at 57 because when my son was a senior, I wanted to help him build the FRC robot every day after. So that's my background. So let's talk about some of the things. One of the other things I want to say is this year they've made major changes to things like the manual, right? You had manual 1, which like the tournament rules and how you build the robot. Nothing game specific, right? All the game specific manual 2. This year it's one big hunk of 142 pages. It's all there, and they've declared, I think, COVID. First is declared COVID's over with because there's only the traditional. They don't have the remote, or at least, we weren't told that there's another manual for a remote where you're playing by yourself and doing your own scoring. But it's a lot more like FRC now. Like Telia.
Is 4 or 5 months away.
3 months.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Whoa, that's soon. With FRC, it's only like 2 months between you.
Stealing his thunder.
Anyway, so our competitions are really soon, and then all your competitions happen in a row, and then regionals is soon after, and worlds is the next week after regionals. And it's a compact timeline. Yeah, with dates and stuff. So, our team, we meet at the TechBrick FTC building on APG. The team meets 5 days a week. I mean, you could ask these guys, we request that students show up at least twice a week. It's nice if we have more. That's more the merrier. Right.
So I got a question. How many days a week are you meeting between now and kickoff?
So currently we're in the off season, so there's not really much to do. There's a scrimmage that we're looking forward to, and we're doing some other stuff. But we're currently only meeting twice a week. We're meeting Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings. Yeah.
You want in the bottom line here?
Oh yeah, so I mean, students, you can do both FTC and FRC. So often the FTC season for Chesapeake regionals is early February, right?
So it's February 8th.
And so most of the FRC season is past that. So even if you want to do FTC all the way to regionals, you can still join us in FRC. Or what I did this past year is I helped my FTC all the way up to kickoff for the FRC, and I said my goodbye to my team, and I sort of did half and half, but I was going to more FRC meetings. And it's really up to you, and yeah, we can work with you. So one of the main things with FRC is you get a lot more, you work a lot more on your robot. So FRC robots are roughly 3-foot cubes. Obviously, depending on the year, they change the rules a lot on that. And you can technically be a rectangle if you wanted. It's very interesting. But it's also up to 125 pounds. So a very big, a very heavy robot, which is, it's similar to FTC, but it's just bigger. We do a lot of fabricating our own parts, and so you learn a lot more about making things. While the FTC teams we have here work a lot with pre-manufactured parts and just bolting those together and fitting motors to it. We do a lot of making our own parts, so we get raw aluminum, raw steel. We drill our own holes, we cut them with a saw, and we mount them to the robot. I mean, we do similar things with electronics, where yes, there are basic electronics, but we have to figure out the wiring in between. They're not, we get raw wire, we have to make our own connectors, we have to solder things. It's a lot of interesting things. Another thing that we do, a lot more of our robot is CADed. So CAD on FTC teams is up to your team. For us on the FRC team, we have decided, this was our past year's robot. This was, we decided to do a majority of it in CAD. We did about 75% of it, which is enough to get your manufactured parts. Because to manufacture some parts, sometimes we can't do that with the drill press that TechBrick has, with the bandsaw. Sometimes we need to go find someone at an industry with a fancy, expensive tool that costs more than our house to manufacture something. And you need a design beforehand to do that. And so me, myself, I've learned a lot through CAD over this FRC season. I helped with most of this robot, putting it into the computer and then taking it out of the computer and putting it into the real world and onto the competition field. Yeah, photo.
Anything else here?
So FRC is one of the interesting sports. It is a full contact robotics sport, so similar to football, however that sport works. You are wearing padding, but you can still run into each other fairly hard. There's rules about, like, you can't just punch someone, you have to, like, shoulder or something. I don't play football, but yeah, so it's similar. Our robots have these pool noodle, or made out of pool noodle bumpers, and so you're less mean to other robots, but we still have bent steel frames, so it is an interesting challenge. So competitions, the competition field, obviously your FTC one, whoa, it's so cool back there. It's 12 foot by 12 foot, that's really cool. The FRC one is the size of a basketball field, which is whatever those dimensions are. And it's designed, most competitions are held in a high school gymnasium. Competitions are full weekends where you arrive Friday night, you set up your working area, and then most of Saturday are the qualifying matches, and then Sunday you do a little more qualifying, and then you get into the finals and you go home. And so it's a full weekend activity. there are big fields with big stadiums, and it's really cool.
Anything else? Let's see.
Photos. Woo!
I think that's the last one.
Oh, awesome. Yeah?
How many teams are on each alliance?
So, right, with your FTC, you have 2 small robots on each alliance. You got your red and blue. For FRC, you have 3 robots on each alliance. So, whoa, 50% more robot. Crazy. Yeah.
How big is a typical FRC team?
So our peak in this past season, we got up to 15 students. I mean, we're a fairly small to mid-sized teams. There were some teams from the big private schools with all the money that had 50 plus members on their team, which is interesting. But I mean, there's also smaller teams, but yeah.
Okay. Do you guys have something to share?
So we have our current version of the working robot that drives over there. Yes, demonstrate, and some of you get to drive. Ooh.
Very good. You gonna stream that?
Okay.
Everything has to be connected by cables.
It's unfortunate. This robot has, for some of you more experienced FTC people, it has something called memory, where the robot remembers it's in tablet. What's the tablet? And so when our team members press and forward, then the robot forward. So another thing, basically,
Hey! Okay. We have all the students here. Our numbers are definitely dwindling. I don't know where everybody's gone. So, hey, old people.
Old people?
All right. Yeah. Okay. So now what we're going to do for the rest of our time here is to spend some time brainstorming, because I know you guys are asking all kinds of great questions. You got some pretty cool ideas. I'm sure some of you have some pretty crazy ideas. So we want to get some time to go ahead and get that going. We have a lot of new students, and so we want to be sure that the new students get an opportunity to learn a little bit from the folks that have been here. So we're kind of randomly mixed up the people between all of our different teams, so that we can get a little bit of interaction and collaboration and such. What we're going to do is we're going to break up into groups, have each group go into a different place, and kind of work for about an hour, and then come back and talk about your ideas, that sort of thing, and then we'll kind of then remix into our other teams, and then go back, and then you'll have some more time to yourselves. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay, so here's what I need. I need Arya, Atarva, David, Yubi, and Amelia. Please come up here and stand in a line.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Okay.
Team captains for the day?
Sure. We can think of it that way.
Are we
Oh my. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay.
We can go back.
Okay. Atarva, come over here. Okay, you guys come over here with this out. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. So with Arya, this is getting ready to get kind of. Actually, you know what we're gonna do? You guys spread out a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Or you don't necessarily have to come up here. Just keep in mind who each of these people looks like, and then they're getting ready to go over, stand in a corner, and get you together. Okay? Right. So with Arya, we're going to have Benjamin, Ethan, Maddie, and Parker. With Atarva, we'll have Kelsey, Chloe, Nick. I don't know, is Nick still here? Did he leave? Okay.
Lucas also left.
Lucas also left. Okay, so we might need to do a little bit of shifting around. So with David, we'll have Joseph, Shivam, Kashfi, and Josiah also left. Okay, so that'll be a small group. Yuvi, we'll have Luke, Andrew, and David Wilson, and Thomas. Is he still here? Awesome, he's still here. Okay, and Amelia, we'll have Aiden, Ruben, Jason, and Brandon. Is Brandon still here? Okay, got it. So, got it. And then we also have the FRC students. I think we're going to go and work with some of these guys also, right? So what we might do, so Atarva's group, there are only 3. I don't know. We may end up redistributing there because it's going to be a really small group.
We could like split up everyone in the group. There's only 3 of us.
Do what?
Like there were 3 groups that didn't have max members, right? So like each
well, you're the only one that only had 3.
Yeah, but like his group
split
was
up his
missing
group
one,
into
so.
other groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. So Atarva, you're gonna go with David now. Okay. Kelsey, you're gonna go over to whichever group was missing somebody. You're gonna go over with Yubi. And then who else was left? Was Chloe? I don't remember which one of these only had 4. But this guy, was that also?
David had 4.
Jason already had 4? I don't know. So, Chloe, we're going to randomly put you over here with Arya, Benjamin, and those guys. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the FRC guys. Pick some people to hang out with. And then the rest of us old people, our job is to kind of check in on you, and we'll find some discussion leaders to make sure there's somebody kind of in with you. Okay. So what we're going to do, it's 1:30 now, or it's 1:35. We're going to say at 2:45. Okay, we're going to come back here, and I want to hear what kind of ideas you guys have come up with as a group. So, for instance, what kind of mechanism are you going to use to reach in and pick up those samples, knowing that you can't get your whole robot inside of there, and you're going to want to be sure to pick up a sample that's the right color, right? Or, how in the world are you going to climb? Easy question is how are you going to grab the first thing to get up a little bit, and then do you have any crazy ideas for how in the world you're going to get all the way up on the top one? Or, you know, once you've got a thing, how are you going to go over and make sure and get it up into the baskets in order to drop it in a controlled manner? Okay? Does that make sense?
And how to clip them on, too.
Do what?
And how to clip these on.
That's right. Or you got to go clip them on. Okay? So, since we have only 4 groups, what we'll do is we're going to have one group working in the classroom, another group can work in the workroom that's over across the way over here, and then we'll have 2 groups they'll be out here. So what we'll do is move the we'll grab some of the tables and pull them out and make 2 sets of tables for you guys to sit around. Does that make sense? In fact, what we could probably do is rearrange both these chairs because we don't need all these chairs here anymore. Any questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, so we have whiteboards around. There are a couple there are 2 over here, and there are 2 they're sitting on tables in the classroom. We'll bring them out, and the classroom has 2 whiteboards. So we have lots and lots of whiteboards. We don't have much in the way of paper. We do have paper towels if you really want to. Do what?
I can't find markers here.
Yeah, there you go. Dry erase marker. Great question, though. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to suggest Arya's group, you guys use the classroom. Got it?
Grab some elements if you want to look at
Yep.
things as you're talking.
That's right, we have some elements.
Just have to make sure we get them all back. Yeah, they all gotta come
Okay, Atarva, why don't you guys want to take the workroom in the back? No, I'm sorry, your group is gone. David, you guys go into the back?
All right, back in the bowl.
Do what? Oh, okay. Okay, so who's left? You. So then you 2 guys, let's set up tables so you can work out here. Yep.
You better give up.
So, okay, why don't you listen to the chair? And then we'll roll the tables out.
Hey, Dave?
Yeah.
Did you print some of these elements?
I did. I 3D printed a bunch of them. Oh, man, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I'll give those out. Yeah, so there's a lot of 3D printed elements.
There's 2.
Yeah. You're going to need chairs. If you want, we have 4 things.
First time we're going to gather Hey, Aiden, why don't you go join your group? I'll put away chairs. Join your group.
Tell you what, why don't, Amelia, you want to set up like over here? Yeah, here, let me go.
So the dark blue shirt will go to the classroom, so you might not give me a dark blue shirt. Well, look at the other colors.
So there's the two, right, you're either dealing with samples or specimens, and so it might be you pick one that your robot does, because trying to figure out a ticket that does both samples in the basket and specimens are separate. I mean, yeah, strategy-wise, also like focusing on one might be valuable to trying to split your time. All right, let's just start with.
I would say this is a very over challenging compared to last year. A lot more people. For this, I think having simple robot is really focused on strategy.
Well, I think what you're doing is harder, but like the overall, the whole game is simple because there's less to do.
Judging your last year's one from the airplane and
Airplane and
yeah, and then